Welcome to the Dwig America podcast. And now your host, Todd Dwiggins.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Dwig America podcast. I am your host, Todd Dwiggins. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about fear and what fear does for you, which is basically almost nothing. I'm not going to say it doesn't do anything for you. There's a healthy amount of fear, but generally speaking, I think fear is a waste of time. And let me tell you, this weekend I did something to overcome one of my fears. So my first step in overcoming a fear was actually doing a podcast. So I always thought, I've said before, I started in radio in high school, really enjoyed it, didn't pursue it for a couple of reasons, but I think big part of it was fear. Yes, I had experience in college where, like I said, I tried 50, 60 audition tapes, whatever, and the guy just didn't like it. Whatever. I think if I'm honest with myself, if I would have pushed harder and really wanted it, I could have made it happen. Also, I had heard lots of stories, which I know are true because I've heard it from several people that were in broadcasting and radio, that it wasn't the best atmosphere working in radio. Maybe that's changed now. And maybe I could have affected good change. But anyway, they're excuses, and mainly I avoided it probably out of fear. Plus, it seems like radio or podcasting, something like that, you need to be a little creative. And I think I was afraid to do anything creative because I felt like it wasn't practical and told myself it was a waste of time. A lot of inner voices telling me, don't waste your time. You're not good enough. Just all these negative thoughts. And I think a lot of us out there that are probably listening to this, if anyone's listening to this, probably have the same thing. There's lots of things that they want to do or want to try, but negative thoughts stop them. Or fear, which is what I'm speaking about today. So this weekend, actually a few weeks ago, I was on Facebook, and someone that I'm friends with on Facebook had marked that they were interested in going to an event. So if you know on Facebook, if someone says they're interested in going to an event, sometimes it'll show on your timeline, hey, so-and-so's interested in going to a fair or a concert or something of that nature. Well, this one said they were interested in attending an open audition for a play, which was A Christmas Carol. And it sparked something in me because when I was in high school and college, I really wanted to try drama and acting, but I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't perform in front of people. I'll look stupid. Maybe I'm no good at it. I'm not going to do it. And at one point I talked myself into it. I was going to try it. So I took an acting class. No, I signed up for an acting class in college. And then the first day came, and a friend of mine gave me a kit for makeup, for acting makeup. And for some reason it freaked me out. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'll look silly. I don't want to perform in front of people. And I totally chickened out. So I didn't do it. Well, anyway. Years later, now, middle age, I see this open tryout for a play. And I thought to myself, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and try out. I'm going to finally scratch that itch that I've always wanted to try to see if I enjoyed it. And so this was several weeks ago. So this past Saturday was the day of the auditions, which were going to be at 3:00 in the afternoon. And that morning, I still was debating in my head. I hadn't told my wife or anybody about it. I just knew it. I wanted to keep it to myself. Probably, again, fear and a little bit embarrassed about saying I wanted to try out for a play. So anyway, I mentioned to my wife, I'm like, hey, I saw this thing on Facebook that so-and-so was interested in doing an open audition for a play, a Christmas Carol play. And I thought about doing it, but I don't know. And before I even said, I don't know, my wife says, "You have to do it." And I was like, well, I don't know. You have to do it. You have to do it. She was persistent. She was insistent. Said I had to. She said, take our daughter that's been in drama class, take her with you, and you're both going to audition. I thought, oh boy. Now she's got my daughter involved and she knows. I just kind of mentioned it just to gauge her feelings. I was shocked that she was like, do it. So I thought, I've never auditioned. I've never taken an acting class, anything. So I said, well, it's from 3 to 5. So I thought, well, I can show up anytime between 3 and 5. And I'll probably just sit in a chair and read some lines. And they'll say, thank you very much. And then I'm gone out of there. Because I've never done this before. And maybe that's how it's done. I don't know. So I decided, my wife's like, nope, go right at 3. So we go at 3 and they give us a piece of paper to fill out. And it asked me, hey, is there anything about your appearance you're unwilling to change? No. What are your special talents? I did radio. And are you auditioning for a particular role? No, I've never done this before. Are you willing to accept any role? Sure. So anyway, fill it out and fill out another form, a sheet with some more information. It's like, hey, give us about, a little, like a small blurb, a little paragraph about yourself. So I didn't know what to put. So I put some pretty weird, not weird stuff, but kind of almost like resume stuff that has nothing to do with acting. I'm like, hey, I was the president of the Education Honor Society in college, something nerdy like that. So I put that on there and some other things that had nothing to do with acting because I didn't know what the form was for. I was just filling it out because they asked, and find out that it's for a paragraph in the program if you're in the play. So I thought, well, I don't have to worry about it. I've never done this before. I'm not really looking. I'd be shocked if I get cast. So again, I'm just going to read a few lines and we'll go home. And again, it's for the play Christmas Carol. So I'm sitting at this table with my daughters. Both of them came. Only one was going to audition with me though. And they call a couple of people up and they read lines from A Christmas Carol. And they sit down and then they're like, okay, Todd, come on up, read this line for A Christmas Carol. So I'm like, okay, here we go. I've never done this before. So get up there. And I'm like, I'm just going to read it like I think Scrooge would read it because it was the part of Scrooge. And I do it. And I sit down and I have not died. I did not die. And I wasn't humiliated or embarrassed. I was really sweaty because I'd never stood under stage lights before. But I sat down, like, well, I'm pretty calm. So I thought that was interesting. So I thought, well, that's it. No, this was a 2-hour process. So I went up 5, 6 times, 7 times. I read for Bob Cratchit, Scrooge, some merchants, some other people. And anyway, over 2 hours. And my daughter did a great job reading. And I thought, wow, my daughter's really talented. So I overcame that fear. I did it. I won't know anything till Wednesday. I'm terrified that they thought that I may have done a good enough job to get a major part, which that's being maybe a little big-headed, which is one reason I was always afraid to do it, because I thought I don't want to be one of those people. I don't know how I did. I mean, I did the best I could. I was surprised myself. I was like, wow, I didn't know I had that in me. But anyway, I was nervous, like, oh no, what if I get cast as Scrooge? It's the biggest part. I've never memorized lines. Oh my gosh. So immediately the fears overwhelmed me. Not overwhelmed me, but they started to pop in my head. And then I realized I'm probably not going to be Scrooge. I'm probably not going to be Bob Cratchit. Maybe I'll have a small bit part and it'll be a good experience and I will have done it. So my point is, do something that you've always wanted to do that you're afraid of. Give it a try. There's lots of things I avoided because of fear. I did not ride on my first roller coaster till I was 16. I probably never will skydive, but that has to do with my neck. That's probably not a smart idea. I didn't go off a diving board, I think, till high school. And I was so excited when I learned to dive off a diving board that I kept doing it over and over. And then I went off the high dive. Well, I didn't know proper technique. And that's, guess what, how I hurt my neck. So I'm not crippled or anything, but it jacked me up pretty good. But I think if I would have not been so afraid and learned the proper techniques and all that sort of thing, I would have been fine. But again, that's why fear is not a good thing. And I still have lots of fears, tons of anxieties. But I'm functional, and you can be functional too if you have a lot of fear and anxiety. Just try to live and try to find ways to defeat it. If it's just one thing you do that you're like, I was afraid to do it, but I did it, and I'm glad I did. I may not be in a play, or I may not have a major part or a speaking role. That's okay. I did something that I was afraid to do, and I've done it. I lived, and I didn't melt down. I didn't have a panic attack. I got up, did it, sat down, and survived. So good experience. I'm glad I did it. We'll see if I'm in the play how much I like it after there, but for now, I like it. It's good. Good times. All right. So that is it for today's. That is it for today's Doing America podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any suggestions, any ideas, anyone you think I should talk to, give me a shout out, dwigamaniac@gmail.com. That's dwigamaniac@gmail.com. But until next time, thanks for listening, and so long, everybody.